Sometimes, Tony. As I was mentioning to you earlier, we believe Santa Monica PD undercover vehicles were following that Range Rover, and then at some point in time, they allowed CHP to get on to this pursuit, and it looks like CHP is back on the Santa Monica Freeway, or on the Santa Monica Freeway, and there's the suspect vehicle.
This pursuit starts like any other police chase, but within minutes, the suspect is flying down the freeway at more than 100 miles per hour, and the police aren't even sure how they're going to stop him. What they do know is that this driver may be wanted for murder, and now, with a helicopter overhead and patrol units closing in, one wrong move could turn this entire pursuit into a disaster.
Just a moment ago, and then we're trying to piece together, Tony, exactly who this individual is. According to Santa Monica PD, they told us it's a murder suspect, and then we sort of put two and two together. We don't know for certain, but it could have been that murder that occurred in the parking lot next to the pier Sunday night. That part not confirmed, but right now it looks like CHP will take over once again. Santa Monica PD has backed off, but you can see the vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed, up to 90 miles an hour, swerving in and out of traffic on the Santa Monica Freeway eastbound.
At this point, police are already dealing with a nightmare. The suspect is driving a Range Rover at extremely high speeds, weaving through traffic and showing absolutely no intention of stopping. And this isn't just a case of someone trying to escape a traffic ticket. According to the reporting at the time, police believe the driver was a murder suspect. There was also speculation that he could be connected to a murder that had happened near the Santa Monica Pier, but that connection had not been confirmed. What was clear was that this driver was desperate to get away, and he was about to make the situation much worse.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, the East Santa Monica doesn't have a lot of volume. If you're westbound, it's a whole different story. But boy, look at that abrupt maneuver to get off. I think this is going to be on Central, if I'm not mistaken, getting off of the Santa Monica Freeway. And boy, that was a quick turn. We've seen the vehicle go through a bunch of red lights. That was a red light and almost lost control of the vehicle. And it looks like now getting back on an on-ramp that I believe may be a frontage road to get him off of the freeway or to get just back on the Santa Monica Freeway eastbound.
The Range Rover suddenly takes off at more than 100 miles per hour. And here's the terrifying part. The freeway is relatively open. That might sound like a good thing. It's not. Because when you're driving 100 plus miles per hour, other drivers have almost no time to react when you come flying up behind them. And police know exactly how dangerous this is. That's why the CHP units begin backing off. They're still tracking him, but they don't want to turn the pursuit itself into an even bigger threat to everyone on the road. And that's where the helicopter becomes critical. The officers on the ground don't necessarily need to stay directly behind the suspect. As long as they can keep eyes on him from above, they can wait for the right opportunity.
Driving like this that are extremely dangerous for the public. I've seen so many innocent people killed in these types of pursuits. It's really sad. Once again, the patrol cars have backed off. It looks like right now they're in what would be a surveillance mode from the air. They certainly haven't backed off on the pursuit, and since it's a murder suspect, they will not. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like the vehicle is going to get on the northbound side of the 5 here. We'll have to see where it comes out. That's with the 10 and the 5 north. And if that's the case, we get up towards the 10 by LA General Hospital. We're going to see some very slow traffic, and that's when things get dicey, when the suspect gets stuck and can't get away. So we'll see what happens here in just a moment.
And Scott, you said that this started in Santa Monica. This is Santa Monica Police. This is their possible murder suspect that they initially were pursuing?
Yeah, I don't know if it started in Santa Monica. We picked it up in the West Valley someplace when we first heard it in the San Fernando Valley. But it appeared to be Santa Monica PD undercover agents that went into pursuit and then asked CHP to help them. So it was Santa Monica was the primary on this pursuit originally, and then they handed it off. And then it was from Santa Monica PD, I believe, that they said it was a murder suspect. So from there, we just started to piece things together. So as I mentioned to you, once you get northbound on the 5 and you get up towards the 10 by LA General Hospital, traffic is stopped. And now you see the CHP units right behind this vehicle. And this is when things really get scary. You've got a suspect that's desperate to get away, possibly a murder suspect, possibly involved in that murder in Santa Monica we talked about Sunday night in the parking lot by the pier, and now CHP right behind the vehicle. They do not want this person to get away. They have a helicopter overhead, and boy, we've seen some pretty erratic driving. This is when things can really get dangerous, Tony.
And at this point, we don't know if this suspect is armed and dangerous, right?
Correct. I mean, they're going to treat this individual as if they are. They don't know for sure, but you're tracking what they believe to be a murder suspect. So they're going to take every precaution as if this suspect is armed and has a gun. There's no question about that. And when you get a standoff, that's when things get scary. When this vehicle gets into a situation where it can't continue any longer, gets into stop traffic. And traffic is like this for miles, up to about the 110 freeway, up into Lincoln Heights. And right now you can see just desperate maneuvers to get away, extremely dangerous. Is that a transition road? It may be, from the 5 northbound, and this may be onto the 10 freeway eastbound.
But then, the suspect leaves the freeway, and things get even more dangerous. Now he's back on surface streets, and suddenly the empty freeway advantage is gone. There are traffic lights, intersections, pedestrians, cars coming from every direction, and the suspect doesn't slow down. In fact, he's doing the exact opposite. He's blowing through red lights, crossing into oncoming traffic, and making sudden turns without warning.
And he's swerving in and out of traffic. You may see the CHP vehicles back off.
Yeah, now going 105, 108, 10, 12, I mean, plus miles an hour. Yeah, he is gaining a lot of speed there as the freeway just opened up as he got back onto the 10 there.
At one point, he comes dangerously close to another vehicle, and then a pedestrian nearly becomes involved. This is the moment where a police pursuit stops being a story about one suspect trying to escape and becomes a story about everyone else simply trying to get home alive. And somehow, the suspect gets back onto the freeway. Now he's heading east on the 10, and the freeway opens up again, which means one thing: the speed is about to go through the roof.
Miles an hour, swerving in and out of traffic. I think the CHP units are backed off at this point in time, but extremely dangerous conditions right now on the 10. The only thing we have going for us is that there is not a lot of volume, but there you see CHP is right behind him. And you know, Tony, in a lot of situations, you know, let's just say this individual was wanted for running a red light. They would just back off and let him go. But if this is actually a murder suspect, wanted in connection with a murder out of Santa Monica, they're not going to back off, because if the suspect makes a run for it, they don't want him to get away, so they want patrol cars or units right behind them so that they can apprehend that individual.
105 miles per hour, then 108, and the Range Rover keeps accelerating. The police have a serious problem.
A pit maneuver at these speeds would be extremely dangerous. A spike strip would be difficult to deploy safely, and if the officers get too close, they risk causing a massive crash. So for the moment, they wait, they watch, and they follow from the air, because eventually, this driver is going to have to slow down.
Reached like 140 something miles an hour. He's really gaining some speed there, and that presents obviously some major danger issues when it comes to the road and all these other people driving next to him.
Yeah, no question. I think what happens sometimes, our angle gets such that it will be a little exaggerated. I think the vehicle has been traveling up around that speed, just over 100 miles an hour. I say that because, you know, the normal traffic is about 70, right? People are doing a little more than the speed limit when there's nobody out there. And more than likely, the vehicle is doing 105. That looks accurate. But if you see it pop up to 140 real quickly, it just means the GPS is relocating and our angle is such that it popped up to that. Because I don't believe the vehicle has reached that type of speed. But that sort of gives you some idea what we're looking at. But 100, 110, sure, and that's extremely high rate of speed. As I look out in front, though, there's no traffic whatsoever on the eastbound 10 for miles, so the suspect is going to be able to continue drive at this high rate of speed. And fortunately, though, Tony, there's not a lot of volume, so we don't see the suspect have to get really close to any other vehicles or make any really abrupt maneuvers. But boy, you know, you're just driving on the 10 eastbound and you're doing 65 or 70 or whatever. You don't really notice this vehicle coming up from behind you, and then you make a little bit of a turn, and all of a sudden you could have a horrible crash.
The only question is, where? For several minutes, the suspect has something working in his favor. The eastbound lanes are relatively clear, but that also creates a strange kind of danger. Most drivers on this freeway have no idea what's coming up behind them. Imagine cruising along at 65 or 70 miles per hour, and suddenly a Range Rover comes flying up behind you at more than 100. You might not even see it coming.
Yeah, that's going to be the case in a situation like this. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like they would be able to do anything like a spike strip in a situation like this. You certainly could not do a pit maneuver at these types of speeds, so that's pretty much out of the question. A spike strip could be possible, but it'd be very difficult when you have this much volume on the roadway to try and throw a spike strip out when that vehicle came by. So I doubt we're going to see that. But at this point in time, Whoa, look at that. Holy
Ooh.
cow. So that is so dangerous.
One lane change, one mistake, and this could become a mass casualty crash. Then, the suspect makes another sudden move. Whew, that was incredibly close. And now he's leaving the freeway again. This time he's heading onto San Gabriel Boulevard. And this is exactly what police were hoping for. Because the faster he goes, the fewer options they have. But once he gets onto surface streets, the environment starts working against him. There are buildings, traffic lights, intersections, poles, and nowhere near as much room to maneuver.
Oncoming traffic, doing speeds here, this has got to be like 70, 80 miles an hour in a place that's posted at 35 to 40. So it gives you an idea just how dangerous this is.
Yeah, I mean, when you're driving to work or whatnot at this time in the morning, you don't expect somebody to be driving. And at some points, he's even going in the middle lane there that could be people making turns and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, this is this is San Gabriel Boulevard, it looks like at this point?
Correct. We're on San Gabriel Boulevard. We're headed south down into Whittier Narrows. We left the 10. We're headed down towards the 60, if that gives you a little perspective. But from what I've seen in the past, when you have a suspect that's this dangerous, this desperate, it's extremely dangerous. We've seen him make some extremely abrupt turns. It looks like he has no indication that he's going to pull over or slow down or anything like that, and that makes these situations extremely dangerous, and they usually don't end well. When you have a suspect in a vehicle like that, that's a heavy vehicle, it's a Range Rover, it's probably, 5,000 or 6,000 pounds, and there's a lot of inertia, a lot of momentum with that vehicle.
The suspect is still driving aggressively, but his escape route is getting smaller, and then comes another terrifying moment.
And we're seeing the vehicle continue southbound on San Gabriel Boulevard at Paramount, and basically it's going to run, the individual's going to run into the 60.
He nearly loses control, and now the suspect is heading toward another freeway entrance. But before he can get there, the entire pursuit changes. The CHP units move in, and suddenly, that's the moment they've been waiting for. The officers execute the maneuver and pin the Range Rover. The driver's door is blocked. The officers immediately move in. Guns are drawn, and for a few seconds, nobody knows exactly how this is going to end.
Fire, there's no question about that.
Oh, man.
And they have the suspect down and in custody.
Because if the suspect reaches for a weapon, the situation could turn deadly in an instant. But he doesn't. The officers pull him from the vehicle. He's down. He's in custody. And just like that, after more than 100 miles per hour of speeding, dangerous turns, red lights, oncoming traffic, and multiple near misses, it's over. And perhaps the biggest relief isn't that police finally caught the suspect. It's that nobody else was hurt. Because throughout this entire pursuit, innocent drivers were essentially trapped in the middle of someone else's attempt to escape. And that's what makes these chases so unpredictable.
Suit that was reaching speeds 105, 110 plus miles an hour.
The suspect may be willing to take the risk, but everyone around them never agreed to it. In this case, the pursuit finally ended with the suspect in custody and no reported injuries from the confrontation. And after everything that happened, that's about as good an ending as police could have hoped for.
It was an overnight murder that happened going into Monday morning, and the suspect was at large still. So we're obviously going to reach out to Santa Monica Police, get more information on this.